So in this video I wanted to specifically focus on Bringer of Chaos challenge mode missions. All of the times in this video are going to be record at the time of posting, and it's going to cover most of the easier or lower difficulty missions in challenge mode. Despite that, however, getting a lot of these records were still very difficult. Hyper T and Apple Marimo are Japanese players, and they did not make my life very easy when trying to get these times. Pretty much everything has to be extremely optimal in order to get any of these times, and I'm very happy with all of the times I've gotten in this video. The first time here is Grazing Flock on Bringer of Chaos. It's considered the easiest mission in this game. The first two phases, as you just saw, are pretty easily taken care of by using one art of Universe Flicker if you can align all the enemies properly for the AoE. And once again, it's the same thing in Phase 3. Now, I have a Galaxy Cube on Morag here, so her auto attacks will have a chance of proccing twice. I think it's actually a black cube for the more advanced version, which will allow me to get my Universe Flicker art up sooner, which is going to save me a little bit of time in this challenge over my competitors. You don't really need the extra damage accessory just because the HP of these enemies is a little bit lower than you might expect anyway. But that's also just because it is the easiest challenge in this game. There are 5 phases in this fight, so you need to be prepared for all of them. Basically, get ready to align yourself exactly where the enemies are going to appear and how you want to AoE them all down. It's really just as simple as having Dagas and Shulk active on your party members and then just using Universe Flicker. Your party members don't really even have to do much here at all besides exist and give you buffs. So that is Grazing Flock done in 1 minute and 9 seconds. The second mission of challenge mode is called Pest Control. This challenge has a pretty interesting strategy. The way it works is that Phase 2 will actually spawn pretty fast after Phase 1. And after killing all the Phase 2 enemies, Phase 3 is going to spawn, and everything after is going to subsequently follow. Now, what we want to do here is actually have Dagas over here focus on the one Phase 1 enemy while we go and kill all the other enemies. Our goal with Dagas active is to try to kill all the other enemies as fast as we possibly can, and AoE them away from the level 1 enemy, or the Phase 1 enemy, I mean. Rex with Dagas should be able to take care of him, while also keeping him alive if you set yourself up right. You have to purposely gimp Dagas' damage a little bit for this challenge. And for Wave 5 here, it's just this one last brick here. And once we kill him, we just gotta kill the last Phase 1 enemy. Now in challenge mode, if you kill an enemy that comes from an earlier phase after the next phases, then it'll instantly end the challenge if it's the last enemy killed. This is useful for saving some time de-equipping weapon in some of the missions later on. The third mission here is Think of the Soldiers on Bringer of Chaos. It is another mission where we use a lot of Universe Flicker spam. So for Phase 2 here, instead of targeting the soldiers themselves, we're going to wait on this Must Citadel to spawn, actually. Since he's going to have the most HP, and we're going to use Universe Flicker on him and hope that the AoE kills all the rest of them pretty quickly. Once again, I've got Galaxy Cube on Morag just to get my arts up. And that saves a little bit of time with my Universe Flickers over the course of this time. I believe there are 4 phases to this fight, with Dolms being the last enemy to appear in Phase 4. And basically, our goal in this challenge is to not get interrupted while we're trying to use Universe Flicker. I target these as soon as I possibly can here, and the Galaxy Cube helps me use Universe Flicker a little bit sooner to hit both of them. So now for Phase 4, I just want to align myself where Dolms is going to appear again, where I can hit all the enemies from behind. And it's just going to be a matter of using Universe Flicker to end this fight. Universe Flickers are really good art for having not only crit recharge, but being very fast and doing a lot of damage by having a high ratio. In Bringer of Chaos specifically, I'd say it's definitely better than Screw Edge, just because it's very useful to be able to kill enemies super fast. And a lot of these times I likely have a critical up aux core just to make sure I always get critical hits with Universe Flicker, since I use the Tachyon core chip instead of the Moon Matter, which gives me critical damage as a buff. But that also makes my critical rate at max affinity only about 93%. So with the critical up aux core, we can hit 100% and constantly get crits on Universe Flicker. So this strategy here is really similar to Grazing Flock. We want to keep this enemy alive for the next couple of phases to save a little bit of time later on. So Wave 2 appears, it's just going to be these 3. And we're going to kill them as fast as we can while also charging up a level 2 special here. And the reason we want to do that is for the next phase, because our level 2 special is AoE. So what we can do is we can target these 3 enemies in Phase 3 over here and use level 2 special to instantly kill them and save quite a bit of time there. And now for phase 4, it's going to be the last phase. It's going to spawn these really large bugs in the sky. Plambus, that's their name. And we're going to try to kill them as fast as possible here. So unfortunately for me, the Blamp dies a little bit before the Plambuses does, so I had to de-equip my weapon and pause. But overall, this was still an amazing time regardless of that. So 57 seconds, that's a new record. This time specifically, Darkening Skies on Bringer of Chaos, I'm actually pretty proud of. This was a very difficult time to get, and it's very well optimized, I think. So you'll notice a couple party changes here. We've got Tora with Cutie Pie, because we're going to need him to break a little bit later on. But we still have Dagas active. We have him on Zeke, because Zeke is the best with Axis, so he does the most here. So, the first phase, we just line all the enemies for one Universe Flicker and kill them all. And in phase 2 and 3, we need to kill them as fast as possible and try to only use 2 Universe Flickers. The reason for this is that they both have an enrage effect that gives them evasion. So what we want to do is kill them before they can activate their enrage, otherwise we'll end up losing a lot of time and we could potentially die as well. So the goal here is to just kill them before they can activate their enrage. I know it looked pretty simple there, but it's a lot easier said than done. They have a tendency of activating it early a lot of times, and I got really lucky there that they weren't able to activate it, so I had to make sure I don't choke. So in this phase, I purposely try to position myself away from Tora, and Tora is going to automatically take aggro at the start of this. And the first move this guy does is usually a Shackle Driver, and we can't afford to lose time like that, so I let Tora get shackled while I just Universe Flicker him. So phase 5, we got another big enemy here, but once again we can just use Universe Flicker to take it out pretty fast. He's not really as much of an issue as the enemy that was fighting Tor. I do think he actually almost ends up killing me here, but luckily my lifeline activates and I live with 1 HP. That's very nice. So the final phase of this fight is against a Squood. Now normally he takes a lot reduced ether damage and physical damage, so the previous strategy here was to use Screw Edge, but I came up with a better idea for this. So Tora's Ice Element, of course, which is going to hit this guy's elemental weakness, because he's Wind Element. So you notice I have Petroka on one of my allies. So Petroka, once again, increases your damage to elemental weaknesses. So after I topple him with the Shulk that I brought, I'm going to use Tora's level 1 on this launch. I've got Petroka active, and that's going to increase Tora's damage quite a bit. I get additionally lucky here because he enrages to Earth Element, so Petroka does increase damage after that. And I'm able to kill him extremely fast. A 156 is going to be very hard to beat on this challenge. I'm very happy with this. This next challenge, I'd have to say, is probably perfect. The previous time of 17 was already very optimized, and this time is a very late 16 with everything that I can see that you can possibly do here. So this totem will automatically enrage to an element after 5 seconds if it hasn't been touched, and he'll take extremely increased elemental damage. I've got Opening Art up on Rex, and I do enough damage where I don't have to use an auto attack before canceling into the art. I've got Noise Dampener even still, though. And if you miss exactly one attack with all of your Screw Edge spam, then you will actually save just enough time to get a 16-second time here. And you also use Tora's Break Art. He's Wind Element as well, and uses level 1 to do additional damage to get that time. That time is probably perfect on the totems. This time is another time that's really optimized. It's probably not perfect, though. It took me a very long time to get this time, though. Basically, the strategy here is you want to target the Aluka at first so your allies will be ready to hit him. And then you'll move on to targeting this Krog. The AoE from Corvin is strong enough to work and hit all 3 enemies from the little center right there. I used level 1 to kill the snake over in the corner and almost killed the other 2 enemies. And our goal after that is to have our AI finish off the other 2 enemies as we're de-equipping our weapon. Getting a 27-second time here beats the previous record by a single second in Temporantian Standoff, Bringer of Chaos. Pretty good time. I don't know if there's any improvement potential, but it would require a vastly different strategy, I think. So this is a time that actually does have some improvement potential. So, in this strategy, you'll notice that the AoE doesn't work quite as well as it does in other strategies, and that's because the enemies spawn in completely random positions in this corner in the first 2 phases here, and they have a tendency to move around a lot, so it's really hard to get consistent Universe Flickers to try to kill all of them, and it's best to really just not worry about going for that and just trying to get out of here with a good time where you can get most of them. Killing all of Phase 1 and 2 in 26 seconds there is actually really good. But this time still has a lot of room for improvement, and you'll see that in the next phase here. So our goal here is to Universe Flicker. Ideally, if they both enrage to Tor's Element, which is Ice, because I left him with the Ice Element. You will do increased elemental damage to these guys as well once they enrage, and if they're both ice element, then Fiora's wind element is going to hit them incredibly hard. I have to make sure they stay aggroed on Tora at the start so they can get that element, and we'll do a lot of additional damage here. And then once they get to their enraged state, they'll take increased damage, and you'll see that here. I'm hitting damage cap on the first one. Now there is one problem with this mission, and that is variant growth. That's going to summon extra enemies here, and that's what I'm going to lose some time on. Luckily, once you kill these extra enemies, then the mission instantly ends. So I'm very lucky in that they all lined up for me, and I'm able to kill them like pretty quickly afterward and get a 115, which beats the previous record by 5 seconds. But there's definitely still some improvement potential on that mission. So this phase is pretty interesting. In fact, all these enemies that are like on the shore already, you don't actually have to kill it all. All you have to do is kill the alligos that spawn. So what we want to do is have Tora and... or our two drivers here, it's not even Tora, I don't think. Target one of the enemies on the shoreline. Yeah, it's actually Zeke and Rex using Dagas and Shulk. I should have expected that. And the reason we want them to do that is because we want them to be fighting an enemy while we take care of the alligos, and we don't want that enemy to despawn. Because we want to have our Universe Flicker ready at all times, we want to be in the fight at all times and not lose any time between these phases. So by having them target one of the enemies on the shoreline, we can save a little bit of time here. Because we'll automatically have our Universe Flicker ready, we'll automatically be able to not have to worry about equipping and dequipping our weapon. And it looks like we're almost at the end here. We've got the final enemy here, the Mega Spoony Alligo, and it's just going to be a bunch of Universe Flicker spam to finish him off as fast as we can. We're going to have Shulk uses level 2 here to both kill the other enemy that Shulk and Dagas were targeting at the start, and also do a little bit of additional damage to this enemy. Thankfully, Shulk's Monado Vision activates, so we don't have to worry about that blowdown art, and I'm able to end this challenge in 1:13, which is a new record by 4 seconds. That is Panic at the Seaside. So the next challenge here is Tiger IRL. So this means that we can only use Tora here, but that's never really a big issue. I like using Tora. Cutie Pie is broken, and I trust myself to set up Cutie Pie to be stronger than anyone else's Cutie Pie. So for this mission, I have opening art plus on him to try to end that phase as fast as possible. They don't always align themselves perfectly, but that's alright. I've also got Piercing Lunge, so I don't have to worry about the block rate of these enemies getting in my way. And the ideal strategy here is hopefully you get decent crit rate and are able to end the lives of these enemies as fast as possible with your arts, so they can't do anything to really mess you up here. So we kill all these enemies with arts. They're not really a big deal at all. I think the reason I resisted Stench is because Tora has high luck, because I have a luck mod on Poppy Alpha, and it might have it still on Cutie Pie in this time. I'm not actually sure. But regardless, now we got to deal with these alligos here, and basically the strategy I have is just kill them with arts as fast as possible, and then use the special on the other one right here afterwards. And the special should be enough to kill this guy if you have Stone, because Stone is going to instantly do a lot of burst damage to him. So we got wave 4, I can't remember what this is. Can't even find the enemy, it looks like. It looks like I have a lot of trouble. It's a Serprond, okay, yeah. So it looks like this strategy is probably just going to be use Arch, use my level 1 special afterwards, and try to kill him as soon as possible. That's what it's looking like here. So in order to get my level 1 special up, I need to use a couple art usage here because it's Bringer of Chaos, so you can't get it as fast as in normal mode or easy mode. So ideally this would do enough damage to kill, but of course he's going to live with like a sliver of HP here, so I got to use one more art to kill him. Maybe that's a little bit of time loss. It could be a little bit more optimal than that, but overall this is still going to be a pretty good challenge with how I did it and how good my crit RNG ended up being in some of these fights. Especially Phase 2. Phase 2 was what was really good about this. So now we got a Squood here. This is another big enemy that we're going to try to kill with level 1 special as soon as we can. He's actually easier to kill, I think. I should only need one level 1 after breaking him again, and he should die just straight up from that. Yeah, pretty simple to kill him. He's the last enemy, and we're able to pause after this, and in this time in 2:10, which is a new record by 10 seconds. Probably some room for improvement here, and maybe I'll go back in the future and do that, but for now I'm satisfied with this. So the next challenge we have in this video is going to be a long one. It's Humanoid Alliance on Bringer of Chaos. These next two challenges are part of the reason why this video is so long, but I wanted to get them in a video at the very least, to have all the Bring Your Chaos missions in a video, and we'll have another one tomorrow with the rest of the missions. So in this fight there are 7 phases, and there's a lot of enemies in this phase. There's going to be a lot of Universe Flicker usage. We've got Dagus, we've got Shulk. You already know what the drill is going to be here. So at the start of all of these phases, I'm going to try to align myself to hit as many enemies as possible, of course, and that's basically what's going to happen. The Lyssalphos from the other side are going to walk over here. Actually, they're not Lyssalphos, that's a Zelda enemy, isn't it? Well, the lizard enemies, I can't remember what they're called. Ignas, that's it. And our goal here is to just try to use Universe Flicker to end these enemies' lives as fast as possible. Of all the times I have, the next two are probably the least optimal just because they're pretty long missions, and they're pretty annoying to try to redo over and over for perfection. Phase 3 is a bit easier because you only have these 2 enemies here and they line up pretty close to each other, so you can use Universe Flicker to try to kill them as easily as you can. You do a lot of damage with Universe Flicker with this setup as well, so that's very nice. It is worth noting that I'm not showing equipment off after these challenges because I wanted to save time in the videos. But if you have any questions about my equipment used in any of these challenges, please ask me, and I would be happy to give you an idea of what I did to get these times. So phase 4 here, these Garluses are all going to line up near each other. I actually messed up a little bit because this other one spawns behind me and I didn't even realize that he was there. So this, you can see how I'm losing a little bit of time here, but it's not really a major deal. I let my enemies kill, or I try to let my allies kill the Garlus while I'm killing the 2 flags over here, but of course they're not quite strong enough to do that, unfortunately. But overall, we're still in wave 5 at a decent time here. So now we got all these Ignas in this corner over here. I try to align myself at the top here so I can hit all of them as fast as I can, but depending on what their AI decides to do, that might not always be feasible. I'm able to hit a couple of them though, and that leaves only these 2 in the corner over here. And one of them, of course, is going to move away from my AoE, the Turkins, so that loses me a little bit of time. Like I said, these times are probably not the most optimal, but it's pretty good considering how long the actual mission ends up being. So now we got these 2 enemies down here. Well, there was only 1, but now there's 2. So the goal here is to just use Universe Flicker to kill both of them as fast as we can, of course. I've got Fiora set up with 2 common katanas here. I haven't explained this earlier. Basically, the reason for that is because I want to evade attacks, so they're agility mod katanas with the Pentagon chip to increase Morax's agility as much as possible. With Shulk active, it gives me a 40% evasion modifier as well, which is going to just make it to where I don't have to worry about getting hit at all, really, in this challenge. Sure, enemies sometimes will hit me, but it's not going to be a big deal, and we're able to avoid status that might end up losing us time. So here's the final phase, and what's going to take us quite a while. It's just a lot of Universe Flicker spam to kill these 3 bosses here. The last one especially has a lot of health, but even before fighting him, they won't all align next to each other to let you really hit all of them, so you want to kill these 2 over here first. I target Gilbert first because the other one, which I think is, I can't remember what his name is, but he has less HP, so he'll end up dying to the AoE if we target Gilbert first. See, he's already dead, and Gilbert has about 1/3 of his HP left. So the Rage Strike ends up hitting Rex there. I'm really happy he didn't end up dying. I do get a little unlucky because he went through my agility and was able to hit me anyway here, unfortunately, but it's not a big deal. I'm able to use my level 3 to heal up a little bit and kill him after that. So like I said, there's a little bit of time save here if you don't end up getting hit. Full Swing's missing me. That's really good for this. It does end up hitting me at the very end, but you can see he's not going to be hitting me too much, Barnaby. And this is going to be the last fight here. We're just going to Universe Flicker him basically until he dies. I can't remember if I used any of my ally special here. I probably should have if I didn't. But the main goal here is use Universe Flicker. Don't end up dying to him. And hopefully your agility will pull through and you'll be alright. It is worth noting that Shulk is here as well, so he's here to basically block Rage Strike, so we won't have to worry about that. So thank you, Shulk, for that. So even if he ended up hitting us, it wouldn't have mattered here. He also has the wind weakness when he enrages. I don't know if he has it all the time, but that's very useful for helping us kill him as fast as possible. It looks like I do use a special from Shulk. And that's going to save a little bit of time here at the end. Maybe I could have used it earlier, but overall, pretty decent time. Could have been better, but pretty decent time, 4:31. think there's definitely improvement potential on that mission because it is quite a long mission. And speaking of long missions, the next one is also long and it's arguably even more annoying. So this is called the Exterminator. It's a full 9 phases, and basically all the enemies spawn in like these really annoying locations where they're not grouped up at all. They'll spawn all the way in all the way surrounding you, like in different corners of this circle, and it makes killing them and using AoE a lot more difficult than it would be otherwise. The only way to really save a lot of time here in some of these phases is just have your allies try to focus on some of the enemies while you focus on different enemies. Because aligning them for AoE is really difficult. Technically the goal of this mission is some score-based thing, but of course we made it a time-based thing on the actual leaderboards. I don't really have a ton of things to say about this mission. It's not really the most interesting mission. It's probably one of the most annoying ones, so I kind of just played it until I got a record and then stopped. So this one's definitely probably one of the less optimal times on the leaderboard. Pretty much anyone with enough time on their hands could probably beat it if they just wanted to try. And that's also the reason I have decided to speed it up here, just to save a bit of time in this video. It's not something I really think that's worth showing off that much. There are a couple phases you can AoE down because they're flying enemies from the sky, so you can line them up. I'm sure you saw that. But otherwise, it's just a matter of trying to manage aggro and kill these Kianas and all the other enemies as fast as you possibly can without losing a ton of time. Once again, it's just Universe Flicker spam with Shulk and Dagas, because Shulk and Dagas both give damage boost, and Dagas gives an AoE boost, and Shulk gives it a boost to accuracy and evasion, which can help out a lot, too. I think I am using the evasion-based Fiora here with the 2 katanas in my inventory, because I didn't want to get hit by a couple things. I can't remember exactly what. Once again, Universe Flicker is broken. It's been broken for most of these missions in this video. The ones where you don't really use it all that much are coming later on in their own videos because they'll have super bosses and more interesting enemies to fight. So I believe the total time for this was 4:48, which only beat the previous time by 3 seconds, and you can see this one's still pretty sloppy itself, so there can definitely be some improvement here. It's just 9 waves of just annoying garbage, really. It's one of the least interesting missions, I would say. Like, even a lot of the ones in this video, even though they're like lesser difficulty, they were a lot more interesting, I think. But this one, I don't really have a ton of things to say about it. Overall, though, Bringer of Chaos is a difficulty that has a lot of interesting strategies for its missions and a lot of fun things to do. Here's just the proof that I got all these times. Very happy with this. And I think a lot of strategies in this video are really cool, and I hope that it gave you a better idea of how to play some of the challenge mode missions on Bringer of Chaos if you want to give it a try yourself. I hope you guys all learned something. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me, and have a wonderful day. I will have more videos soon.